LA cannabis regulator claps back at the county watchdog and says that they're being guided by legal counsel, you guys. That's right. We need to hit play on this. The LA Department of Cannabis Regulation told the county civil grand jury that many of its findings were factually inaccurate, you guys. The top cannabis regulator agency in Los Angeles shot back politely but firmly at a county watchdog agency that blasted its performance as, in quotes, inadequate for social equity stakeholders in a public report issued in June, making clear in a detailed missive that the critique was largely, that's right, you guys, ill-informed, they're saying. That's right. In a 10-page written response, which reads like a government version of a facepalm emoji, the LA Department of Cannabis Regulation told the county civil grand jury that many of the findings in its June report were factually inaccurate, that it strongly disagreed with several of them, and that multiple policy recommendations would not be implemented or had already been implemented years ago. In a quote, the report contains a number of troubling inaccuracies, the DCR wrote. The civil grand jury is mistaken about the role of the DCR, and DCR was not created solely to administer the social equity program. DCR was established to license and regulate the cultivation, manufacturing, and sale of cannabis in the city of Los Angeles. The DCR response also took a cheeky turn in several spots, noting blithely that the civil grand jury's investigative committee, which authored the report, appeared to be ignorant of many basic facts that govern DCR's mission and its abilities. In a quote, DCR recommends that any future investigations by the civil grand jury be guided by legal counsel who can advise the civil grand jury on the relevant laws and regulations, the agency wrote. In one example, the DCR pointed out that the grand jury report states that the DCR's social equity program was created by the Los Angeles County Office of Cannabis Management, better known as the OCM, and DCR and its social equity program were created years prior to OCM, they state. The DCR also strongly rejected an assertion by the grand jury that delays in compliance inspections were responsible for social equity companies losing control of dispensary sites prior to opening for business. And in another quote, any suggestion that DCR eliminate or reduce the number of compliance inspections would jeopardize the safety of consumers, employees, and the surrounding communities of each licensed business, the DCR said. The agency also pushed back on the grand jury finding that the DCR failed to adequately inform social equity license applicants of possible pro bono assistance available from the city. And between August 21st to January 2024, staff for DCR's social equity program sent 171,385 emails and made 42,406 phone calls and sent 37,989, rewind this a little bit, 37,989 text messages notifying social equity individual applicants of the resources available to them, the DCR wrote. These communications included specific targeted information about grant funding, one-on-one coaching, online learning resources, live webinars, and pro bono legal resources. The DCR also suggested that one of the grand jury policy recommendations that the agency should leverage is its legal ability to keep confidential license applicant information from the public, including predatory actors, and didn't take into account the state public records law. In a quote, it appears that the civil grand jury is unaware of the California Public Relations Act, the CPRA, a sunshine law that requires governments to make records and information available unless a specific exemption applies, allowing the agency to withhold or redact the information. The DCR wrote nothing of that withholds personal identifying information, but the law mandates all license applications are a matter of public record. In an additional quote, we appreciate the civil grand jury's attention on DCR and the second such investigation in 5 years. But we wonder if instead an examination into the systemic hurdles faced by cannabis entrepreneurs would have led to meaningful change across the industry and government, the agency summarized. Man, oh man, oh man. I just feel like the DCR is just totally gaslighting. I feel like they should just hire Rico with all this gaslighting going on, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Go ahead, light the gas.
I bet.
Well,
strike the match, Rico.
I have so much to say about this.
I know
because
you
I
would,
was one
Jenny.
of those resources that was available for social equity applicants. Oh, I was until I lost my position there, because when the program went down, because they didn't plan on continuing the program, they did plan on continuing. They had no plan, and there was a gap period where the services weren't available. I had several licensees and applicants that were in very pivotal points, so I continued to help them for free, and I lost my job for that one. I think. Listen, the quality of some of the resources that were provided were questionable. Some of the people have never operated a cannabis business, so I don't know how they were supposed to teach somebody else how to do it. My applicants have been super successful, and that's awesome. But I would push back. It's not the reason they didn't open. It's not because of delays in inspections, which is what they're claiming. That's insane. The reason that things are delayed is because you'll email your analyst and you won't hear back for 6 weeks. You'll send calls and texts, and they don't even have a call center open on Monday, which is crazy. I think that the resources available through the DCR are not enough. We talked about the fee waivers and my frustration with them pushing through, and Michelle was great. I was really nervous after. I thought I was going to lose my job then, but she agreed to do the fee deferrals, and then now they've gone back and they've rolled those things back. So I think that there's quite a few issues going on, and who cares? Yes, the DCR was established before the OCM. LA County Cannabis is still not quite in effect.
I thought that was a mute thing too, Jenny. I was like, why
it
are they arguing that?
But like, who cares? Like, because it shows fundamentally that that it makes all the rest of the information questionable, because they got such a basic fact wrong, right? So I think that there's a lot going on, and I think we're looking at a New York type situation. DCR, love you guys. Ethan is fucking amazing. I can't say enough good things about him. He's gone above and beyond for every applicant that I've dealt with him. But I will say that a lot of things and a lot of these applicants have been failed time and time again. It's very egregious. Those things are made available to them, but the pro bono, like, a lawyer is not going to be a lawyer that's going to file something for you or go to court for you or whatever. You're getting advisement, you're getting counseling, you're not getting counsel. Those are two very different things. So they need to be very honest with what they're actually providing. And then there's, also a lot of nepotism, unfortunately, in the way that some of these contracts go about. There's an RFP process. You go through the proposals, whatever. And so I think that it's very interesting how much the DCR, very Kathy Hochul's office is spending more time defending themselves and their positions instead of making sure these applicants are getting licensed. Because I've got 3 applicants, I guess I'll call you guys as soon as the show's over, DCR, who are waiting on responses, and these are really timely, urgent responses needed. So, guys have dropped the ball on a lot of things, and there's a government claim process if you're an aggrieved applicant, by the way.
Hey, Jenny Beth, as we head into, year 8 of legalization coming up here, and all of the issues that we've seen firsthand here in California cannabis, specifically here in Los Angeles, what is the fucking motivating factor for new applicants to even get in at this point? Like, I remember when we first started out, it was, this is the first way to legalize reparations, or, you can build generational wealth, or, you can actually make a lot of money and do it the legal way and support your family. We found out that all of that has been a lie. What is a motivating factor for somebody to actually get in right now, unless they're trying to game the system a la Jensen's?
I mean, listen, if you don't love this, then you probably should sit out, because it's going to be a very frustrating, very long process. There's going to be a lot of tears and a lot of anger and a lot of aggravation. So if this isn't something you absolutely fucking love, now's not the time.
Fair enough. I mean, I do think that some people lost their retail spaces because of the lags by the DCR and whatnot, and couldn't continue to pay rent. So I do think that's a very valid point that they brought up in here, that the DCR tried to deny in regards to, but we'll see. They've
approved locations in the pre-app process. The way it works is you submit a pre-app, your location's approved, and then you're eligible for further processing, which means you can now submit your license application and go forward with that. But the first step is approving your location, which you now have to have a lease, right? You now have to, or a binding LOI, which they will still usually require some money to hold that property for you. So here we are, and I've seen them approve pre-apps and approve the location. They've updated the ZMIS map in the last year. So a lot of schools that were listed on there are now listed, small daycares, things like that. And so they've gone back and they're just like, actually, oops, your location's not approved. So now people have been paying rent for 10 months on something that was never going to work in the first place.
Right.
That is crazy to me. I mean,
it's insane.
It's insane that I mean they need to just give them a waiver if they already pre-approved their location. They've been paying money for 10 months or whatnot. They need to just give them like a grandfather clause because technically that's their mess up, not.
Unfortunately, when we think of the children, we're talking about the schools. That's written into the laws of the state of California. So those buffer zones are.
But it's local control. They have local control. They have local control. They can give them a waiver for that.
If they give them a waiver, isn't that like socialism, Jason?
No, they can give them a variance, not a waiver. They can give them a variance.
They're not going to do it.
They should, and they need to.
They should, but they're not. Unfortunately,
it's very disingenuous that they are not willing to do that and rectify their mistakes when these people. They're not going to pay their rent for the 10 months that they already paid while they, you know what I mean. They're not going to give them that money back either.
Well, they might. So we'll see when this all. That's actually one of my applicants. So when this all wraps up, maybe I'll get with Rachelle, write an article about it because there's a lot of things that I want to expose. But I want to get through this first, so they don't,
good luck to
screw
you,
me for screaming.
Yeah, good luck to you and your applicant, Jenny Beth. This just seems like it is a circle jerk and there's no cookie. You know what I'm saying?
Dale, do you want to touch?
Thank God, the cookie's the nasty part at the end, right?
Dale, do you want to touch on the fact of these pro bono legal services and the difference between actual representation and pro bono consultation?
Well, there's a misunderstanding in the industry that attorneys work for free. Mm-hmm. And when you tell them, people get their butt hurt about it. But running a law firm is no different than running any business. I got overhead. I got bills to pay. And so if I agree to do something pro bono, I try to put a limit around what I can do for free before my insurance carrier screaming at me, you better be careful about what you're doing here because I expose myself to malpractice suits. If I give some consultation to somebody, which I have done many times in the past, but you have to clearly designate to these people, this is what I will do for you for free. And beyond that, I charge. And some people just don't want to talk to me then because, I don't want you charging me anything. Well, fuck you. I've been an attorney since the Reagan administration. I charge for my services. Like Lincoln said, my value is in my time and my experience, and I'll give you some of it. When you tell somebody there's a limit to how much I'll do for you for free, it seems this industry expects everyone to do something for them for free. And it turns into just a mess. And you don't get the highest quality legal counseling because there's not a lot of attorneys who have really been in the trenches for years trying to do this. They tell you they have, I've been doing something for 10 years. Yeah, you've been fucking whacking your pee-pee for 10 years, and you haven't been in the cannabis industry. So it is a mess. And I must tell you that it's almost impossible to sit down and do a business plan, a budget with a social equity group that actually comes anywhere close to reality because the foot dragging is incredible. And how do you tell somebody you may have to have 1 to 2 years of your lease payments in the bank because you can't expect to be licensed in anything less than that? And that's just one of the many, many economic problems that you face. No other industry that I'm aware of has to face.
Fair enough.
100%.
Do you have any thoughts on this, Stone or Rachelle, before we move on to Dale?
Not
you
really.
want one more piece?
It just seems, like these organizations, they have a purpose, but they don't hire the people that need to be there to actually do what they're there to do.
It's a perpetual cycle, and it ends up being a blame game. Nobody accepts the blame for what happened. Nobody learns anything, and they do the same shit again.
Fair enough. And on that